I saw something about 3 months ago. It all lasted no more than 10 seconds, but it is etched into my memory. Uneventful but very real and spectacular. I've told nobody yet. I never felt like I should bring it up, and it was meant just for me. It was August 2018 at 6:10 a.m. in upstate New York in the Adirondacks area. I would go out late and sometimes very late for a smoke. I would walk around in silence, listening to and enjoying nature. So, one morning I go out the back door for coffee and a smoke. I'm standing at the back door breathing in the fresh morning air and take a sip of coffee. Nothing is out of the ordinary. Birds chirping and critters moving about. Then I hear a snort like a deer would do. I look to where it came from. Maybe from 100 feet or less. Though it was still mostly dark, I could see about 20 feet into the tree line. I didn't see a deer. Within 2 seconds of the first snort, I hear another one as I am still looking for a deer. Something stepped out from behind a tree. Its left side was facing me. All I could see was a large black shape. It stood there for a few seconds. I know what I was looking at, but I had no reaction, other than watching. It made a noise, but not the snorting sound. Then it walked into the woods. Not only did I see and hear it walk away, I even felt its steps in the ground. Like the ground was hollow and vibrated. No breaking or snapping branches, just footsteps. Almost like an echo in the ground. After about 6 steps, it was gone. Nothing changed. Same birds and critters still moving about. I stood there processing what had just happened. Other than the echoing thuds of footsteps, it was silent. After a while, I walked forward slowly to the spot. Not sure what I would see. But there was nothing. Where it had been standing, the ground was covered with fallen old branches. Not even a ninja could have walked through here silently. I judged the height at an easy 8 feet tall based on its head height to the trees. This thing was massive. I walked back to the picnic table and sat on it. After the coffee and smoke, I went to go inside. As I reached for the doorknob, I feel like I should turn around. So I did as I scanned the tree line again. Nothing. I faced the door to turn the knob and there was a flash of light, like a camera flash. As if someone behind me just took a picture. Instantly I got goosebumps. My hair stood on end and I felt like I couldn't get inside quick enough. It had to have watched me for at least 10 seconds before it moved. I haven't seen it since, but I could tell it wanted me to know it was there.
My grandfather didn't talk much about his own experiences with Sasquatch. He grew up in the foothills of Appalachia in Tennessee. All he would say to my grandmother is that they were definitely real and she should never let her guard down. He said they would pace him from the tree line as he walked to high school from his home in the hills. This was a 6'4", 300-pound mountain of a man. But these things made him feel an intense fear. Black bears he was wary of, but he didn't fear them. Even doing 2 full tours in Vietnam didn't put fear in him like Sasquatch did. The first time I encountered one was when I was young, and we were in the Appalachians visiting his family. He would take me hiking and we'd look for animal tracks near creek beds and streams. Occasionally we'd see bear tracks, which was the coolest thing ever when you're 6. When we had our encounter, my grandfather noticed it first. I was too occupied with my immediate environment. I did notice that the birds had stopped singing and it was noticeably quiet. Just as I was looking up on the opposite side of the creek, I noticed something. Something dark in the dense foliage, standing next to one of the bigger trees. Immediately my grandfather took me by my shoulders and gently guided me back up the path while he kept nervously looking around. I had never seen that look of fear and stony tension in his face before. My grandfather had gotten a good look at it. It was just standing there. After I'd been put to bed that night, he told my grandmother what we saw in the deep woods. how it was most focused on watching me. He knew that if he had taken his eyes off me for just a second, it would have taken me, and there wasn't a damn thing he could have done about it. We never went back to that spot in the deep woods, and he never let me go anywhere again without me being in his sight.
I was 14 and visiting my dad in Alberta, Canada. When my parents separated, Dad went to live in a small house off the grid. It was about 30 minutes from the nearest town. This was his dream, and I experienced it with him every other weekend. We went hiking, hunting, kayaking, bird watching, and all other outdoor activities. Sometimes we camped outside. That's when I saw it. Dad found a spot deep in the brush and we set up camp. When it got dark, we decided to sleep outside in our sleeping bags so we could watch the stars. Dad fell asleep almost immediately, but it wasn't that easy for me. I tried very hard to fall asleep that night. But in all honesty, despite the many camping trips with my dad already, I was still creeped out by the forest at night. That fear would keep me awake all night. At a certain point, when I was finally drifting into sleep, I heard something coming out of the woods and snapping branches loudly as it walked on towards us. Dad was in a deep sleep and I was pissing my pants. I thought a lost person was walking on towards our campsite. I opened my eyes a bit, and I could see it. Only about 10 feet away from me was a giant, hairy creature that walked on two legs, like a person. I wanted to scream in fear, but I tried to pretend I was asleep, praying it would ignore us and keep going by. In my opinion, the creature, which I now know was a Sasquatch, was attracted to the aroma of the meat Dad had been cooking. I say that because it didn't seem the least bit interested in us. It seemed more interested in just slowly walking around our campsite, presumably looking for the food it thought we had. I must tell you though, not only was I terrified at the sight of the giant hairy man, I was also sickened by the terrible smell that was coming from that beast. The Bigfoot seemed to get bored after a while and disappeared into the darkness. I was trembling and wasn't able to sleep for the rest of the night. I didn't tell Dad anything until he woke up the next morning. I was afraid if I tried to wake him up during the night, the creature would notice that we were awake, maybe even hear us. I didn't want to find out how it would react if it did. When I told him about it, he just said it was probably a large bear, walking around on its hind legs. I then described to him how the creature was extremely human-like and walked like a person would. He just said that I was either hallucinating from fear or that I wasn't aware that I was having a dream. To this very day, I know what I saw. It was about 9 feet tall, with extremely long and matted brown hair all over its body, including the face. It was a face that to me looked very human-like, in a primitive sort of way. I still remember the horrible odor that made me want to vomit. That was the longest and most terrifying night of my life. Afterwards though, I've come to honor the experience, because I would come to realize that the creature was undoubtedly a Bigfoot, and I was one of the few people who get the chance to see it up close. To all skeptics, I understand your incredulity, but I have experienced it firsthand, and there is no doubt that these creatures exist. Not only are they scary looking and very smelly, they are also a fascinating sight to behold. I feel that they are more like humans than apes, due to the appearance of the face. That was the scariest part. Not only was there a strange, giant creature lurking around our camp, but it was a very human-like, extremely hairy creature. Unfortunately, or maybe I should say fortunately, I never had another encounter since that camping trip 33 years ago, but the image still stays clear in my head to this day. In fact, there are many nights that I have dreams while I am reliving the experience over and over.
If you enjoyed this video, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe to help us grow. Thanks for watching.